I'm Felia Allum and I'm a senior lecturer in Italian and politics at the University of Bath, where I teach and research West European politics, organised crime and Italian mafias. In this video, I'll be giving you an overview of some of my teaching methods, with particular focus on how I transformed my fourth year organised crime unit from being a traditional teacher-taught module into a student-centred role-play unit. In 2011-2012, I was very fortunate to have a university sabbatical, which allowed me to spend a fantastic year in the field, collecting data and doing research. When I returned, I reflected upon my teaching approach and decided to update and rethink it, making my teaching more student-centred. So what did I do exactly? How did I use the role-play method? I basically transformed a traditional teacher-controlled role-play into a student-written and student-directed role-play. I decided to do this because I wanted students to develop a more critical way of thinking, but also a methodology linked to that. I also wanted to encourage active learning because I think active learning is the best way to learn.
What I loved about the role play and active learning that we did with Felia was the fact that we were involved. And what I found, not only for myself, but for my fellow classmates, was that we were all excited to go home and research our characters, make our characters more realistic, more in-depth, and we wanted to learn more about the way the Mafia thought, the way they did things. It wasn't just playing a game, as some people thought it would be.
With this, I felt more obliged to really do my readings and do my research and go read news articles so that I was more prepared, because I didn't want to embarrass myself by being in the game and doing something that you shouldn't do.
I wanted also to challenge students to question their assumptions and preconceptions around organised crime and Italian mafias, which are often linked to stereotypes. I also wanted to engage the students more so that they were more attentive and could concentrate more. And lastly, I think what I really was interested in was to try and get students to take complete ownership of their whole learning process and to be less dependent on me as the teacher. I wanted to shift my role from being the teacher to becoming an advisor, an enabler and a facilitator, so that in the end, they taught themselves.
It's quite good for me because since I was a child, I've always been a very hands-on learner. If someone shows you how something happens, and then the beginning, how it happens, and then the end, you sort of teach yourself, I suppose, in a certain sense, because you're sort of given the tools to learn.
We were given these roles, so I was a consigliere, like an advisor, and at first I was disappointed because I wanted to be the Mafia boss. And then when Felia said we could make these characters our own, we had to give them a history, a reason for why they're involved with the Mafia, and you could give your character this great depth, and I loved that.
So how was the course organised? Students were given 7 traditional lectures of 2 hours each, where I gave them all the academic information they needed. Parallel to this, I developed various games where students were organised into Mafia clans, and then they had to make decisions and to solve problems that I set them.
Ready?
Yeah. Each class contained around 20 students, so that would be 4 clans consisting of 5 members each, all living in the same district, which was our classroom. Roles were chosen out of a hat. There were bosses, wives, advisors, foot soldiers, etc. All roles could be filled by either gender to avoid stereotyping. Games 1 and 2 involved choosing members and deciding on a business plan. Then I would give each clan 4 problem-based scenarios. Each clan had a problem that they had to resolve. These were either on extortion, inter-clan relations, drug trafficking or political relationships.
A member of our clan shot a member of their clan, and that needed to be resolved.
Not all of the other members of the clan may want to support him in his father's death and the
It would be quicker and more convenient.
If it backfires as well.
The students then went away as a team and wrote the scenario based on the academic literature. They would have to work out how they would behave and how the other clans would react. Would it be passive or active engagement?
Well, we did the extortion game, and so that's one I felt most comfortable with. And normally Felia is the expert, so I feel we have to kind of refer to her. It's like, oh, can we do this? Is this accurate? But when there's one group that is a semi-expert on that topic because they've been doing all the reading for it for the dossier, then that, I feel, gives a lot more justification to what's going on.
So you actually built relationships and bonds between certain clans and certain people, just like real people would. I would imagine in like a more sort of situation, like family and like religion and all like the different things that make up a person. Like
yeah, we had like this 2-hour-long goal to get this contract signed, and people kind of forgot about it half an hour into it, but we pushed that for 2 hours, and then it eventually came to.
And what happened in that particular case? Can you remind us?
We did get the contract signed.
How?
We
Kidnapping.
Kidnapped a baby. It's the best way to get a contract signed.
It was a doll. No babies were harmed during the seminar.
My problem was then, how was I going to assess this? Because it was quite a challenge, because I was developing different skills from the students. I decided to adopt a 3-level approach. Firstly, an e-journal. This was a weekly diary entry in which students individually noted in character events and what they learned.
At first, when we were told we had to keep a diary, I was a bit like, okay. But writing down these thoughts as my character was brilliant. I mean, I found myself really getting into the spirit of who my character was. The way I wrote was completely different to how I, myself, Sian, write. And I thought that was really interesting, the way that through the active learning and the role play, we found ourselves even more involved in this whole Mafia world.
Secondly, a collective dossier. This was a group task in which students explained how their scenario would play out. And finally, an individual reflective essay, which came at the end of term, in which students would write about different concepts that were developed during the games and how these related to the academic literature and what they learned from them.
The seminar work, the role play, because it's so linked, so well linked with the essay, they're not standalone. You're learning it as a unit, as a module, rather than standing up and doing a presentation with a group of people and concentrating more on coordinating that group of people rather than actually thinking about the topic itself. So we have to think about all of the different elements at all times when we're in the role play, and also thinking into the future with our essays. So for example, the thing that I found most interesting at the moment is women's role in the Mafia, because it's personally affecting me in the game. So that's sort of leading my reading for the moment, and that's really helpful, I think.
I just wanted to learn more and be prepared, and then also because we did the dossier before, it really helped us engage better in those particular subjects.
These 3 different forms of assessment allowed me to see how students develop traditional academic skills, analytical skills, reflective skills and organisational skills, but push them beyond the normal boundaries and developing 21st century skills, social responsibility, teamwork, respect for others. I believe that a student-written role play has many benefits, and it can be used for subjects across the social sciences, not just organised crime.
We had planned to rig the election, and it didn't go to plan because the things were all stolen. And it's almost like, although it didn't go to plan and we were actually disappointed as a clan because we didn't get our way, that's how it is in life as well. So I feel like I've taken away life lessons as well as just what I've learned in the class. So it's not just about the topic of organised crime, it's also about how to deal with real life situations as well.
In particular, I have learnt as a teacher how to get my students to take ownership of their learning process, with me as an expert on hand to help them think things through. But I believe that the students have learnt so much more than that, because role play allows them, for example, to take on a first-hand experience, and this means more concentration. Because it's a game, they become more motivated to learn, and they're much more interested in what's going on.
As the games progressed, we got more and more into it, even outside of the classroom. Sometimes we would constantly refer, so like sometimes we'd sit down next to each other and then be like, oh, don't sit next to me, you're from a different clan. So it was just like, it was loads of fun from the onset outward.
It's not just kind of going, right, so you say this and you say this. It's a kind of, we're all working together, and kind of, it's because it's all based on research and things we've read and learned. We're learning whilst we're doing it, and I think it's really, I'm learning things that I wouldn't necessarily have, or remembering stuff because I'm having to think about it on my feet.
And all the time, because it's not just once a week.
The role play also removed the tutor-student polarisation barriers that exist in a normal teaching setup. They learn at different levels and are constantly learning. They develop key interpersonal skills because they're in different groups all the time. There's constant feedback from the teacher and from the students. They develop a sensitivity and awareness because of their first-hand experiences, which they might not have normally got. They also develop empathy towards others and understanding, and they're constantly trying out new skills and behaviour, and therefore overcoming their shyness and developing more self-confidence.
When I was actually going to start it, I was pretty nervous, and I'm I'm not the most outgoing person, but neither am I a really reserved person. And I was quite apprehensive because it is, I did drama at school, but this is nothing like anything I'd ever done at university.
It was, I thought I'm quite okay in my skin, so I was fine like rolling with it. The only thing I was quite daunted about was the dossier itself, because although it was quite nice because it was among like 4 people, I'd never written like a literary review before or anything. So that was that's a whole new skill set that I've got now, which is great for 4th year when I've got to write my dissertation.
Because we all wanted to do well in our role play, because we wanted our Mafia clan to come out victorious, everyone went to the lectures, because the lectures were a way for us to learn more about how to be a good Mafia clan. She really helped us understand the thought process, the logic and the origins that could lead someone to being part of a Mafia organisation. The fact that she had gone and interviewed Mafia bosses meant that, you know, she was our key to doing well in this course, and to do that you had to take part and be there.
So all in all, I truly believe in student-centred teaching and learning. It's fundamental for us as teachers to empower students to take ownership of their learning process, where we transmit our expertise in such a way that students develop their own critical thinking. And I think I've been able to achieve this in my role plays.
Yeah, I'm happy I chose the module, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I've spoken to my friends about it, and
Yeah.
I'm very envious because
Yeah.
we talk about our Mafia,
We
being
talk about,
Mafia
yeah,
bosses, and
it's like
how much we're
involved. We're really
how
properly
interactive it is, even outside.
invested. We're really invested in it.
I mean, don't think I've ever been this invested in a seminar before.
Yeah.
To take part in this seminar, to take part in the unravelling of our stories with all the plots and plans, I thought that was really refreshing, and I love that.
Yeah, it's the only seminar I've never considered missing.
Yeah, which is quite a feat on a
Yeah,
9:15 on a
9:15,
Friday.
exactly, yeah.
So
That is high praise.
that is quite the testimony.